All right. Hello. I see us. And I think our audio should be good as well. Pull back the music a little bit more. There we go. So, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us here at Coded Life. Jonathan, my friend, how are you?
Hey! Oh, man. Sun is shining, and I'm breathing, so it's a good day.
It's a good Monday.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it's Sitefinity Day, so it's the best day for you, I'm sure, right?
Yes. Well, like I said, you're the first person on Monday that I really talk to. Monday mornings are a little light on meetings. So, let's dive in. Thank you, folks, for joining us. My name is Sam Basu. I am a dev advocate at Progress Software. With me, I have my good friend Jonathan Reed, Sitefinity engineer and totally awesome dude. So, here we are. If you're joining us new, or if you've been with us, you know the drill. We do a whole bunch of things throughout the week. Mondays we start off with CMS and podcasts. Tuesdays are Unity. We're actually getting very close to building a real-world VR, not a real world, but a real virtual world VR experience. So come and join us on Unity Tuesdays. Wednesdays we do React and UI. Thursdays we do some .NET, Xamarin, and Fridays is the chat show. Thank you for the follow, J. Mark Wells. Thank you. We appreciate you. So today is Monday, which means today is CMS and Sitefinity. So how was your weekend, Jonathan?
It was nice. Not anything too overly complicated. I worked on some Sitefinity stuff. Don't tell anybody. I've been working on a new plugin. Well, I won't call it a plugin, an add-on, where I actually take the out-of-the-box Sitefinity services and allow for personalization by zip code. So check that out in our marketplace. Actually, I don't think it's live yet, but if anybody's interested, the code is out there. It's also already available as a NuGet plugin if anybody wants to search for that. But anyhow, that's what I was doing. Yeah, because, why not, right? Don't you eat, sleep, and drink Sitefinity too, Sam?
You worked hard over the weekend.
It's sometimes, when it's just flowing, it just flows. And
That's
it had to work. And had a little celebration for my youngest daughter turning 14, actually tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
So that was a good time. Had some people over. And
Man,
yeah, I know, right?
You are old.
Shh. Keep that to yourself, Sarah. Wow, yeah, getting older. But thankfully getting older. And as my wife likes to point out, I have far more gray hairs than she does, and that's why I wear a hat on these every day.
That's why we wear hats, as you can see on both sides.
Yeah. So no, overall great weekend. Weather was nice and all that. How about you?
Yeah, same old. But we have a 4-year-old, so it keeps us a little more busy.
It's different busy.
Different busy. So,
different busy.
Yeah, nothing much, so can't complain.
Yeah.
All right,
you're busy, still full of toys and whatever. My busy's, hey, take me to the so-and-so's friend's house now. Well, I don't want to now. That kind of stuff.
I hear you. Okay, folks, sure. So here's what we do. No, sorry, I didn't mean to touch off.
No, you're good. You're good.
So here's what we do, folks. We are building, over the last 2 months or so, Jonathan, you're looking at Jonathan's desktop, actually, he's driving.
That's right.
And I'm the one who asks the dumb questions. But over the last 2 months, we are building out a full-blown CMS-driven website. Think of it like for a restaurant chain. And you have corporate websites, and then each of your locations have their own website, and they have their own styles, and they have their own ways to customize things. But think of yourself as maybe like a custom or maybe a corporate admin for the CMS. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's Jonathan Reed.
That's me.
In the chat as well. Yeah.
I have to make sure everybody knows they can ask us some questions.
There we go. Yeah, so keep the chat going, and we are getting close. We have a separate module now for handling each of the locations for the airport. That's right. And the geolocation stuff is working. So where did we leave off, and what's next?
So last week we were focusing on some front end package management type of stuff. We focused on what Sitefinity has out of the box as regards to npm. So we ship with npm set up in a package.json here in each one of our resource packages. So keep in mind, for those of you just joining us, resource packages are our assets, right? These are our themes. This is where we're going to store our JS, our JavaScript. That's the same thing, right? Our scripts, JavaScript, our styles, that's the other thing I meant to say. Maybe even imagery or other assets or components. Yeah, I know what I'm doing here, guys, promise. Are all going to be stored within this resource packages. Today, we're going to take it a step further and kind of cover some areas where you might want to store some resources maybe outside of the resource packages, maybe making them more available to the system as a whole. We'll also talk about exposing your layouts into multiple layers, so areas of the system. So within here, we might have some specific layouts. Maybe we have a 2-column layout where we want to do like a 4 by 6. Nope, that doesn't add up to 12. Yeah, it does. No, it doesn't. 6 by 6, a 4 by 8. How about that? There we go.
I can see it's Monday for you.
So we'll talk about some of those best practices and where some of those resources will be located today. I'll also show you what I adjusted in our npm scripts last time to get our watch.js to work. So now, as soon as I start my npm start, and I make a modification to my global JS, and I'll prove this here. We actually get it in real time. So
but this was not working last week, right?
It was not, yeah. And I think the long story short was the things that I just had to adjust my expression that I was using for it to search for the source of the files themselves. I think that's what my major issue at the time was. So yeah, I could do a comparison of the file. I think I checked in immediately after we were done last week, or at least I tried to. We can take a peek at that here, but yeah, let's quickly look at this. So if I refresh this page, we're not going to get an alert as expected. When I just logged in, we got to work on our style there a little bit, but okay. So let's just to show. So one, here's our command that we have going on. You'll see a couple things fire off as soon as we make this change to the actual asset itself. So let's get these side by side here so we can see. All right, so as soon as I save that, you'll see in our execution window up here, there it goes. It's now running our build.js again, and then reruns the watch. Now when I go and refresh the home page, might need to do a hard cache here real quick. There you go. There's our alert. So our JavaScript updated now. You also notice that I did another developer trick, if you will, where I went up to the refresh bar here. I right-clicked and I did an empty cache and hard reload just to make sure that we had the most up-to-date assets.
Yeah, I like this. For the first 2 years or so of me using Chrome, I did not know you could do that from the address bar.
Well, to be fair, I don't think it's not always been there that I know of. I don't know when or when. Maybe somebody in the chat window can confirm, but it was something that I think was introduced at a later time, just probably a year. I don't know, but I didn't know it was always there either.
It is so useful.
It's very, very helpful, especially if you're a front-end developer. This will be a great resource for you to do that. So, again, we've got our npm scripts running as we expect. Let's make that code change back because we don't really we don't need that there, and we can probably add this back in here. All right, cool. And let's just go ahead and make sure we didn't break anything else as we made a couple JavaScript changes.
Our good friend Curious Drive is here. Hello.
Hey, welcome. Okay, so let's continue to talk. We don't need to do, again, we're working on a specific widget right now. This widget actually resides in a separate class library where we follow the MVC development patterns to develop out a custom widget for Sitefinity. So the widget that we're working on is this closest location widget here. Again, we've placed it into a separate class library. Please review, those videos on your own. And as a side note, actually, let's toss in really quick. Here is a list of our playlist from YouTube of previous sessions if you guys want to get caught up. And these sessions are typically an hour to an hour and a half for anybody.
Yeah, so if I can just pause for a second. So curious, right, what we're doing here is building a website that is powered by Sitefinity as a CMS, and we have some designs that we started with, and we're trying to bring them into fruition, into actual implementation. So that's done through some custom styles and some custom widgets, so we can churn out more and more content that belongs to a certain style, and all of the assets and all of the modules that it needs to pull that together. So
that's right.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. And let me see if I can say this right. Mainland Nid? Okay.
Probably.
Yeah. So DevTools, Chrome DevTools, yes, that's an absolute amazing asset. Although I wouldn't say I do everything for network proxy through DevTools. It's great for web stuff, but I like things like Fiddler or what's the Google tool for APIs? Postman. But
yeah, we're going to actually open up Postman a little bit later.
There you go. So yeah, that's not DevTools. So the DevTools is on I'm on a Mac, so I will do Control-Shift-I. What's the Windows thing for bringing up DevTools?
Sorry, I was reading a comment. I got sidetracked. What was that again, Sam? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I forget the shortcut for Windows, but yeah, it looks like that's not...
F12.
F12, okay.
Yeah.
Cache clear is there when the DevTools is showing in the browser. Yes.
That's right. Only when the DevTools are present. So if I close it, you cannot do you can't right-click on the reload bar any longer. You can do a Control F5. That used to be the old school way. I think it still does the same thing, but I'd have to double check. But yeah, only when those DevTools are present that you get the ability to right-click, empty cache, and hard reload.
Very, very good point. So yes, Mainland, I'm sorry, I misunderstood the initial question. And I found a funny tweet the other day where, so Chrome and all of these browser makers do want to hide some of the details from just regular non-technical users. So somebody who's not obviously a web developer accidentally pulled up DevTools in Chrome, and they were like, "Oh my God, my computer is melting! What are these things just flying out? I see numbers, I see text." I was like, "Yeah, it's probably best for not everyone to see DevTools."
Right. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Another question from Curious Drive, ASP.NET Core MVC. So no, not exactly. We don't plan on it. We will get into our .NET Core examples. Actually, hopefully next week, maybe a week after. This is .NET Framework 4.7.2. Actually, I had a hard time typing that comment. Apparently, Twitch doesn't like you doing .NET. It thinks it's like a web address or like the period. Anyway, I had a really that's why it says dot. Anyway, sorry. That's why I had a hard time typing the comment there. But anyway, this is not on .NET Core as of yet.
But it is MVC. So
it is MVC, yeah. Absolutely. Correct. But not .NET Core specifically. Sorry, I just stepped on something on my floor there and didn't know what it was. There we go. So yes, thank you for the questions. Keep them coming.
Hopefully not your cat you stepped on.
It was not my cat. He's not down here today. I'd like to see him, though. He's been hiding upstairs. And by hiding, I mean sleeping on the back of the couch. So, yeah. All right. So, let's see here. So today's conversation, really, we're going to continue to focus on best practices for some front-end development. We're going to talk about, where some resources are stored and just hone in a little bit deeper on some of that during today's call. And then after that, I think we plan to bring up web services and also to bring up Postman and take a look at our out-of-the-box offerings for our web services or our JSON OData web services, and how we might use that in conjunction with our favorite frameworks, like, I don't know, if you want to build a single page app, using Angular or React, Vue, whatever your favorite flavor of components there are. One, you can do it within Sitefinity. Two, of course, you can build your own external applications as needed. So this will kind of open us up into the conversations moving forward about our .NET Core offering. All right, so these are going to kind of, again, open up the doors into our newer 3-tiered architecture to the platform, where we're going to have an API layer, a rendering layer, and then really the back end, administration type layer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So is that what you will do if you did a greenfield project today?
So we're not quite at the .NET Core level. It's still in what we call our customer technical preview state, meaning that we're looking for feedback from customers, meaning it's probably not ready for production yet, but is ready for you to use to build your ideas about. And then we're looking for feedback from the customers. What is it missing? What do you need? What do you expect the roadmap to look like? And it's a very input return type model, where we're taking input from the preview program and implementing it into our versions. Oh, and as a side note, this little birdie over here, or maybe he's over here, told me that maybe a new Sitefinity release might be coming out this week. I don't know. Just keep on the watch out.
It might be hear it here.
You did not hear it here, but I have a suspicion that hopefully 13.1 will be coming out this week, if not early next week, is my hope. Again, you didn't hear it here, or maybe you did. I don't know. But the roadmap identifies some new features around .NET Core. So that's kind of why I was holding back on doing any .NET Core stuff until we had this next release out, and we can really focus on some cool new activities. So. All right, cool. Let's talk about front end framework, development, right? So again, we've talked about in previous sessions these resource packages, typical place that you are going to store your JS, your styles, scripts, imagery, all those components. Sitefinity does ship with NPM in these resource packages. You can even scaffold out these resource packages. We did this in a previous show, actually one of the first 2 or 3 shows that we did, probably the first 1 or 2, I don't remember exactly, where we actually used the Sitefinity plugin for Visual Studio to scaffold out our resource package. That includes a number of things, where it's going to include an MVC folder. In this folder, you're going to find all your views. This is also where we started our initial development. You can see our coriander lane base layout here. We have our typical layout functionalities as identified. And again, these are covered in previous sessions, so we're not going to focus too much here, but just as a recap. We can also place widget templates in here. So for each one of our buckets of content, or widgets, if you will, you're going to have a view that's associated with it. When we place these widgets onto a page, Sitefinity takes care of the model, the view, and the controller for you, although you can adjust the view. And let's go ahead and take a quick, we'll take a quick look at it. I think we can do it here. I think I have a locations widget already on here, where we can just see how a user might configure a location. And actually, maybe we want to build out a specific template for some content. Okay, good. So we have a list widget here right now. And it's locations, which is a custom content type that we built with our module builder. Now, as a recap, custom content type is a piece of structured content that we identified. So we said exactly the fields that we wanted to be able to configure. Sitefinity handles the database operations for you, building the backend screens that you need to edit and modify and work with the content, and also gives us full code examples. And that's where we're going to use our web services in just a little bit. But nonetheless, we're able to then take it, place it onto a page, get a listing of our, say, locations, and then even drill into the details all within one widget, okay? Now, in order to facilitate maybe other templates, here's where you can identify those. So we've done one of these already in previous demonstrations where we created our list.rotator here. This is for our slide content type on the homepage, where we created a custom folder that maps out to our content type, and then we place in a view. Now this view follows a naming convention. List goes to a listing of the content. So these are configured here, and I'll show you an example. This is for all dynamic widgets. So here's where you can select a template here, and that's where that would show up. And then anything that starts with the word detail would then be identified as a detail selection for our templates. Now, when you place a widget template in a folder structure like Coriander Lane _ Bootstrap 4, the way Sitefinity ties these components together is through the layout that the user selects. Sorry, that was my cat at my feet there. That's why I was looking down. So when I select this specific template out of this folder here, so, oops, not that one. Where's my layout? A, B, C, D layouts. There we go. When I select a specific page template that's utilizing this layout, it'll then utilize all of these widget templates from this folder structure. Additionally, it'll also look into our root MVC folder of Sitefinity and grab any additional resources here. So let's take this for an example. So if we go add, let's add a new folder here, and we're going to follow a naming convention for Sitefinity. So we're going to name this location. So our single item template, or our single item content name, is location for our out of the box content type location. I know this because we built it. It's also basically the listing minus the S, right? So we'll create a folder called location. Within here, we can then add a new view or file. It doesn't really matter. We don't have anything specific to scaffold out just a view. So we can just do, again, like a text file. Oops, not a text file. Just any file would be fine. So let's add a new file. I'll go ahead and just grab a CS HTML file, hopefully. So let's go CS. Sometimes the template of, there we go. So if you grab an MVC5 Razor View file, it just gives us the right extension. You could always, of course, change it in the UI. We're going to then follow our pattern here of going list dot. Now, anything that we type next will be the name of the actual template. If you use Pascal casing, it'll then separate each uppercase letter into a new word. So let's go locations list with image. So in the UI itself of Sitefinity, this will then splice into 1, 2, 3, 4 words. It will be called location list. It'll be location. How about this? Let's just do locations with image. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and add that in there. Please, Visual Studio. There we go. Okay, so it's going to follow the standard .NET approach to doing that. We don't need any of that. We can just delete it. Let's go grab, though, the out-of-the-box template for this content type out of Sitefinity. We can grab that from a specific place here. And we've done this in a previous show, and we'll just do it again today. That's okay if I don't save my changes. All right, it's going to recycle the app real quick, soft recycle, in order to grab that new layout widget that we just placed into, not layout widget, that new widget template that we just placed into the folder structure. The recycle shouldn't take more than a second there. Boom, we're good to go. All right, so let's go ahead and let's get, from widget templates, we can get the out-of-the-box templates that Sitefinity produce for these content items right through here. And in fact, if you look at the naming structure has 1, MVC in it, and then 2, list.location, detail.location. Same structure that we're following in the file system. I just like to place it in the file system. 1, source control, hashtag truth, right? The second is, well, mostly C number 1. So we don't lose content. Also works really well in continuous integration and continuous deployment.
Can I ask a dumb question here? So, what exactly is Sitefinity watching in terms of your folders on disk? Is it?
Good question. Yeah, so it'll watch this actual MVC folder here for any new views, mostly just the front end views. Obviously, controllers and models are part of the compilation of the system, so no changes would be applied unless you compiled the solution itself or the individual project. So it'll watch MVC.
Is it watching only the folders where it finds a matching module name or template name, or everything?
So specifically the MVC views folder, it'll watch it completely, even if it doesn't match. I think it would do a recompilation, although I've probably not explicitly tried it in that route. I think usually I get the name right the first time, but that's not always true, right?
Okay.
I don't know, Sam. That's a great question. We could try. If we spell it wrong, I'm not 100% sure, to be honest with you. I think it would recycle it because it sees the change, but it just wouldn't be able to map it out to the correct location. So to watch this MVC views folder as well as any of the resource package folders as well.
Yep. Okay, now what is Sitefinity giving you as a template? Like if you go back, there was some markup, right?
That's right. So this is the default template that Sitefinity produced for us when we built out the module. It's also what gets overridden if we make any changes to the module. So just as a quick show and tell here, let's go back to the module builder. So here we have locations. We have our single item, our content type locations. If I added a new field, just as a test here, nothing exciting here, I just want you to see this process. And if I go finish here, it's going to say update the widget template. This is going to update that database location that I just showed you. So as a developer, I can just say, yeah, go ahead and update it. And I personally, or at least as my best practices in my mind, I don't ever update the one that comes out of the box. I leave it as is and let Sitefinity do whatever it's supposed to. And I pull everything into source control. So that way it doesn't really matter if I update this. And I'm not going to lose anything. That being said, there is revision history on these. So you could, in theory, step backwards if you needed to. All right, so I went and just copied and pasted that into here, and just a basic look at what the widget template is going to do. Now, keep in mind, Sitefinity takes care of the model and the controllers for us. If you want to modify those, we have instructions on doing so, and in fact, I think we might have covered it in a previous call. Let me see. Nah, maybe not. We could probably look at that at sometime during one of these. But you can override the models both for Sitefinity out of the box components, utilizing dependency injection. You can also override the controller as well if you needed to extend the models. So one example that I've done is the navigation model. I have a custom field that I've placed onto pages where sometimes you want to show a navigation item in the mobile view, but not necessarily the desktop view. And you want to pass that to your marketing and or author team, right? Well, with Sitefinity, we don't offer that right directly in the model, so you have to do a simple extension to the system. And maybe we should cover that at some point. I thought we maybe did that before, but we might have to go back and review our stuff. But anyway, those are some reasons that you might want to utilize dependency injection to override a model and or a controller within Sitefinity. But back to the task at hand here. We're going to pull in an image that's associated with this particular item. And since we placed this into our root MVC folder, this widget template will now be available for all resource packages. So it doesn't matter if I select the Bootstrap 4 or if I select the Coriander Lane _ Bootstrap 4. All of them will have the ability to select this. But really quick, let's go ahead and throw in an image. It's source, so we're going to use the out-of-the-box fields reflection here. The field name, I believe, is image, although we should double-check that. Good thing we had this open. Oh, so it looks like we have images, and it's images because we can select more than one.
Yeah,
so
like for
let's.
the carousel.
Yeah. Well, that was.
No, this one's this is the list of locations, right?
That's correct. So the carousel was for a different content item, but yes, in this case, looks like we have more than one. So so maybe we should grab like the first one or something along these lines, which then brings us into maybe a little bit more some capabilities that we might need to do a little bit additional checking here. So we're just going to write a code block in here. And let's go ahead and let's cache this out here. Let's set this to a variable, and then let's double check it. So if image is not equal to null, because they now, and I guess we should double check. If we haven't marked this as a required field, it is a required field, so it won't ever be null because the system is checking. So I don't actually need to do that. So let's go ahead and just try to grab the first image for our listing. So it's never going to be null, so yay for us because we required it in Sitefinity. Let's go ahead and grab the first one and set that to a particular variable. And here's where you can make some educated decisions in your development patterns. But I like to then say, if image is not equal to null, show an image, otherwise do something else, right? And maybe you have image source equals, whatever, default image. I didn't spell anything right there, but just kind of showing you a quick stub out here. Okay, so here we're going to go image source equals, now we can access the image property, image.fields.media URL. I just happen to know these because, well, I've done Sitefinity once, but let's also get access to a few more of the fields. So we use out-of-the-box reflection, so image.fields again, and let's go alternative text. Cool. Let's get a title on there too, since we want our site to be accessible. So let's go image.fields.title. This will get the title field of the image. I think that's pretty good for the basics of accessibility here. Looks like I got an extra mark there. There we go.
And could you go into your models folder real quick?
Sure. This one?
Yeah. No, just on your MVC, and then yeah. And so when you look at models.items, I want to see like what you're looking at.
Oh, so this is explicitly tied to dynamic content list view. So Sitefinity is going to use reflection. So basically, this is going to give us a dynamic content item and allow us to get to all of the fields of it. And so here we use this dynamic reflection that we can access by the field name its actual field.
Okay.
So here I went and grabbed from the item. So item is our dynamic content item. In this case, it's going to be our locations content item. On the locations item, I have a field called images. If I didn't, this would throw an exception and it wouldn't render in the front end in theory.
So that's the convention part. Like it matches the name and it knows which model item to give you, like for that.
That's
view.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And then each one of those, model types might have a different associated member of fields. So images. So we got an image. Now within image itself, image has its own set of fields: media URL, thumbnail URLs, alt text, as you see here, title, or whatever other properties that you might need to access.
Yeah. And I mean, are there some like default properties that every list item might have, or is all custom?
So for dynamic items, no, not necessarily, because you can control them explicitly. Yeah. So all the out-of-the-box ones definitely have things like title, URL name. All content items do have URL name. Now, title, not necessarily, because when you're building a custom content item, we could set some other field to be the unique identifier, which would then update the URL name to be something else. For anybody else who's used other CMS systems, URL name for us is similar to slug or other unique identifiers for other specific CMS systems.
Yeah. So like if you were being like really paranoid, like you would
Mm-hmm.
check if you actually had a property on that item, maybe.
You could, yeah, you could. I think I have. Hang on a second here. We might have an extension field. Give me a quick second. Let me double check. No, actually, yeah, no, we could check. Fields. Although this will not work the way you would expect because of reflection. This would not work right here because this field just wouldn't exist and you'd still get an exception. So there's not a real direct way like that to check. The view just doesn't render, or you could throw it in a try catch in theory. But let's go ahead and try this and see what we get.
That's right.
All right, oops, I accidentally changed this. Let me get my @ sign back in there. There we go.
Did we add an image for Burlington? Like that one location we have?
I don't know. We're going to go find out.
Okay.
All right, so we made a couple changes there. Let's go. All right, let's go back to the Sitefinity here. Let's go over to pages. Let's go to the locations page, and let's go ahead and open up the locations widget. And hopefully our template will be there so we can change our view to grab our new template, and then we can start, working on some additional, front end type stuff. All right, so under list settings, we should now have, there we go, more than one template, and you can see our name matches with
nice.
our name up here. So locations with image, and you can see how it splits that out. So that's there. We won't make any other changes for now. Let's just go ahead and save it. Give Sitefinity a second to reload it, and it should pull in our new template here. It's got to cache some things out. Ready, please? Now, let's go ahead and just take a quick preview of it. Okay, so it looks like we did have an error here, so looks like it's time to open up our. It's probably failing here, is my guess, and we'll see why in just a second. Images. Okay, let's see here. So let's go ahead and, so as a reminder, errors live in the app data folder. App data, Sitefinity, logs. All right, that's today. Okay, so here's error log. They are in order. Let's see. Okay, system.array does not. Okay, so it looks like it was an array and not a list. That was my fault. I didn't realize it was an array and not a list. So apparently array doesn't have
first. Yeah, select 0.
Yep.
Do
so
0.
Let's go ahead and do. Oops. Let's do a 0 there. All right. Save and a refresh should update that in our UI. Hey-o, nailed it. And we did have an image associated. Hey, look, we even got our alt text and our title tag there. So if we go ahead and take a peek here, you can see, oh, it looks like alt wasn't populated. So let's ensure that real quick. So just so you can see, let's publish our change there, just so you can see the beautiful dynamic nature of a CMS and or Sitefinity. If we go and we update the image that's associated here and add the alt text, it'll automatically show up in the UI as needed. So let's go ahead and drive into images. There's not too many here. Now let's see which one that we, okay, so it's on. So it's in a specific it's on a specific site here. Holy, wait a minute, what is going on here? Okay, there's that one. Huh, that's special. What's going on here?
So the image has an alt text, but it's not showing up.
Well, I don't know if it has an alt text. I was really actually just trying to find the image. where I uploaded it. Let's go back to here and locations. Default library? No, it should be in locations. Huh, that's weird. Why is it not switching? Okay. Well, anyway, now we got it switch. Okay, so just a quick recap. So why I have to switch here. So we're using multiple providers in Sitefinity. This allows us to either share or consolidate resources to an individual site, or again, share them across sites. Locations is actually shared across all sites. And here's that specific image that we were looking at. And you can see here, no alt text. So totes. Actually, we can even update. All right, so publish, dynamic nature, wrong page. There you go.
There.
Here's your title text, and our alt text should also be there. There you go. So the alt text and everything is there as associated. Now, the cool part about what we just did there was that we actually made that that template available for really any out of the box Sitefinity site. So let's go ahead and prove that out real quick. So what I did was I switched in my multi-site context. I switched to the North American site. So North American home. Okay, so this will be the North American home site, or home page, excuse me. I'm going to grab just this default template just in order to prove out the point of me breaking stuff. All right, well, what do we do here? That's interesting. Okay, let's see what I did wrong here. Huh. Oh, I know what I did. I don't have my multi-site set up correctly. So let's go make a couple quick adjustments here, or at least I assume I don't have my multi-site set up correctly. So let's just double check why. So if I go, whoops, cancel. If I go to the properties for the site, localhost /
Can you explain one more time? I know you had in the past, like, what is multi-site? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so in this case here, we're setting up Sitefinity to, well, multi-site can be used for a number of different, opportunities. In this case, we're utilizing it in order to break our site down into multiple regions of the world. So our organization is large enough that we have, offices, locations, even business unit teams spread across the world. So we've broken our site up into multiple regions of the world, in this case, North America. So for North America, we now have its own individual site. We can even go into Sitefinity to say North America has its own storage location for imagery, its own storage location for pages, news items, so on and so forth. We even have maybe a specific role set up, so only certain people can access North American backend or whatever the operation might be. Multi-site can be set up to use multiple domains, subdomains, or even subfolders like we're doing here in this case. So North America, there we go. It should have, I'm still not certain why it wasn't resolving correctly. Let's try this one more. Let me see if I can just go / North America here. We can, okay, yeah, I know I don't have a, oops. Does that help, Sam? At least close some ideas there. Still not certain why this page isn't publishing here. I'll just publish it right there and see if I can hit it now. Okay, well, at least got to it now. Let's see if I can. Huh. I'll be. Never had that one happen before.
Is it something to do with the name?
Yeah, I'm not I'm honestly not really sure. Check one nice thing here. So on the front end, okay, cool. That showed up there. Huh. Well, I'll have to. I've never seen that before. Localhost. Changed there. That's got the right URL. Huh. It's a great question. Sitefinity 13. Huh. Well, that's pretty cool.
You know what's happening here. Like, as soon as we are done, Jonathan is calling on people like, "What? Why did this break?" And the engineer's
that's
like,
exactly what happens. But the good thing is, since we record all this, I don't have to re-explain what happened. They just go watch the recordings, right? So it's pretty good.
We're dogfooding our stuff, and as one should. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No. I'm not mad that it doesn't work. I'm just trying to, I'm trying to understand myself why. Man, I got no.
Okay, Jonathan, what's going on with your camera? Because the top of your head is getting cut off.
Oh, I keep sitting up higher.
There you go.
I keep getting closer and more frustrated. Maybe I don't know. That's my frustration pose. Sorry. Well, I'll be interested to see what's going on here. Oh, everything looks good there. Tell you what, let's do. So if you guys ever need to reset a Sitefinity site, one of the easiest ways to do it is just make a change into the web config. I usually just come right here in the top, put a couple spaces, save it, and if you go reload the front end, especially if you're hosting through IIS, it automatically causes the site to recycle. Pro tip. Okay, let's try this one more time here real quick. If it doesn't work this time, we'll just move on to another subject, and I'll see what's going on behind the scenes there. And I'll let you know next time what's going on. I think I've been pretty good at following up, hopefully. I haven't left anything hanging. If I have anybody out there, please let me know if I do leave anything unanswered. I'm happy to answer. All right, let's try this one more time. North America backend today. Huh. That's crazy.
The site said North America versus you are saying North American home. Does that make a difference? Or like, is there any convention?
No. So the actual URL versus the home page shouldn't make a difference. So see here, there's the name of the site, and here's the name of the page. So
yeah. You're curious, right? It is a 404, so it's not resolving and finding.
Yeah, the page. It's not something. Yeah, something in Sitefinity's not resolving, right? All right, let's. Okay.
This is real world where we're fighting, and I mean, if you want to move past, that's totally cool.
Yeah, we will in just 1 second. Okay, look. Oh, I forgot I turned off the. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, something else is not behaving nicely here. So we'll come. I'll come back to that. Sorry about that, guys. There's a couple things could be happening. One could be. Let's just make sure my local host is looping back correctly.
Yeah, Curious Drive is asking, like, I don't think it's a matter of like the HTTP GET on the page. It just doesn't even know where the page is.
Yeah, it's actually not even producing the correct URL. So, there's something else going on that's a little off. So it's not. Yeah, no, good thought. But yeah, it's not even. I just happen to know, based on my experience, it's not even producing the correct URL for the editing portion, so I'm not 100% sure what's going on there. So what I did really quick was, I don't remember what I just did. Oh, I reset the site, and what else did I change? I changed something else, but I forgot now already what I did. All right, just about done here. Okay, so here I'll show you really quick what's happening. So when I click to edit the home page, you'll see that the URL is admin app/pages, and then I'll inject some additional components. There you go, pages, and then here's the name. It's not producing that same URL on my other site, which is what seems to be causing see, it doesn't produce the correct URL up here, which is strange.
So now let me ask you this: like, when you go, like, this is literally going across a different site domain, right? I mean, you could set this up as a different domain. Like,
absolutely.
Does it need its own folder structure, database, routing? Anything it's missing?
I mean, nothing that I can think of abnormal. No, everything should be set up, as far as I know, appropriately. So, something it's again, that's not producing the correct. It's not producing the correct URL just in general. So there's something else going on behind the scenes that.
Yeah, you find out and let us know next week then.
Yeah, sure. No problem. Localhost. I even changed the. Yeah, there's not really much else for me to change, because on the front end it's working fine. It's the back end that's not getting the proper edit URLs. Let's see if there's. I guess we can check one other thing since we're. To make sure that I was just see if other back end stuff was working appropriately.
Yeah, curious. I was asking about the path, and I mean, I think you just showed off how it's set up.
Yeah, the path should be similar to this, where it's admin app/pages, and then the actual name of the page itself. And for whatever reason on this subsidiary site, it's not producing in that same fashion. You can see it's missing the root portion of it, the admin app part. I bet if we do this, not even manually did it work. So yeah, something else is going on behind the scenes that I'm not entirely sure about. See if that fixes it. No, I don't know. Be honest with you guys.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Oops. Well, that's interesting. Okay, let's get back logged in here. Yeah, I'll let you guys know next week what's going on with that. But let's move on to closing out a couple thoughts here. I guess any questions about so I can't really show off what I was trying to show off because of that purpose, but the point is that this file here, this template itself, will be available to all sites, no matter what, based on the location that we placed it. The other thing to do or to note is if you want anything to be available for the grid system, so our layouts container, we need to follow a little bit different folder structure here. Here we go. So let me grab this grid system folder and place it in the root. That's fine. Oh, we already had it. Cool. So we already have this grid system folder. Here is where we can add layouts. These are the things that help break our screen down into smaller columns. If we add them into this root grid system folder, we can then use it through all of our sites, as well as our form builder as well. So just a couple notes on where a resource should be located as well in the system. And then lastly, I think for the last 4 or 5 minutes, let's quickly peek, unless you got any questions, Sam, at the out-of-the-box web services, where you can easily grab content, filter it, all sorts of great stuff with, say, Postman in this case, what we're going to use today, but you can use it to do all sorts of great things, integrations, and more.
Yep. No, well, keep going. I mean, I may have one question at the end where, like, you kind of began with the what.js, but it's up to you.
Well, I tell you what. Let's go ahead. Let's do that. Let's answer your question, Sam, and then let's maybe hold on the web services, since this took maybe a little bit longer than I expected. I don't want to get started on this topic, as it's pretty in depth and sort of important, and maybe I should retrieve or reserve it for allowing the appropriate amount of time, I should say.
Sure. All right, so go back to the location page where we had the styles on the JavaScript.
On the front end or the back end?
The back end, yeah. Like in Visual Studio where you had what.js.
So there's the front end. Let me get some of these. Okay, so right here. Okay.
Yeah, so what did you do with the watching part that was different from last week?
Oh, so the watching part, there was would have to compare this package JSON, but I just made some configuration changes in here. I think mostly around this line right here and the way I was implementing this in our scripts below. So let's do a quick compare. I think I checked in immediately after our call. Okay, so I added a JavaScript source. Oh, I must not have checked in last time, but so we've added, yeah. Let me get that out of the way. So basically, we created a configuration to say, here's the default location for our JavaScript files. Mm-hmm. And then we created a cross-environment run of components here for our Uglify. This allows us to get into these configuration files. We access that configuration right here for reuse. We tack on a star.js. This grabs all the JS files from that specific folder, meaning that anything that we place in to this folder structure source project script, so any JS file that we place into here will then be minified and uglified into the main.min.js.
Okay.
Or whatever we called it. We called it global.min.js. But so we added these two. We then utilize these down here. So here we build. Basically, this allows us to get access into the configuration file. So we put in the minified location, where the file should come from. Here we actually execute the JS task. So, and then we run that here on the build portion. So this is a reserved word for NPM scripts. We then set up a watch. So I just followed the same structure that Sitefinity utilizes. And then I basically watch that same folder with the star JS, and then any change on that file folder structure runs the JS command again, which is this one here.
Yeah. And
so that runs everything that we need.
Yeah. No, I mean it can be. I mean, you need to know the flow and exactly how you name things, and it needs to be specific. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and so for the most part too, this I'm executing on my local, so I'm going to execute it and then I'm going to check in code. A lot of companies do often like to work this into continuous integration or deployment, where you may actually execute the same build scripts on the build server, where it's compiling, after the merge, all the assets as necessary. Really up to your business setup on what's best for you. I find that merges for us happen mostly on development environments, so you would know and execute this locally before you checked in anyhow. But that's just our process. Again, you can really set up a number of different things. But
yeah. And I'm trying to remember, like, did you say you have choice in terms of like how you want to have things like minified? Like you're using Uglify. Could you use something else?
If there are other things out there, absolutely. This is the one that I knew about, so we used Uglify.js. If there are other components out there, yeah, absolutely. You can utilize it. Again, this is all based off of NPM and NPM scripts. So if there are other platforms that work, by all means, use them.
Roger that. All right, cool. That's, I think, all the questions I had in mind. So
yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, so do you want to stop here for today?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's a pretty good place to stop, where we've covered some best front end practices for storing assets. In Visual Studio, utilizing NPM to produce components. We also, next week we'll figure out why my back end isn't allowing me to edit that page specifically. So
yeah, we'll figure it out
for sure.
Cool. Well, Curious Drive and Mailernet, we appreciate you. Thank you. Rainbows for
Absolutely.
You. Thank you. And Jonathan, thank you for taking the time
Always.
as usual every Monday to do this. I think whenever we do end after I don't know how many weeks, I mean, it'll be an experience to kind of go back and see here's how many nuances are there to build a real world global application.
Yeah, absolutely. So
okay. Cool. All right, folks, I think that's it from us for now. I think my good friend Ed is going to record a podcast in an hour's time right here on this channel. But yeah, we are here all through the week, so come and join us whenever your time permits. And we love you. We appreciate you. So thank you, and we shall see you next time. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Bye-bye.